me having a partner who was in it for, 2 to 3 years before I got into it was just invaluable, because anybody can do this at 5 or 10 units. But then once you get to 15 and 25 and 30, it's a different level of scale, and a different level of systems.
This is episode number 27 of the Short-Term Rental Success Stories podcast. Welcome back to Short-Term Rental Success Stories. I'm your host, Julian Sage. This is a show where I talk to hosts about their journeys in starting and growing their short-term rental business. My goal is that you'll be able to walk away with practical information that'll help you become a better host and learn how to scale your business. So we had an awesome review come in on iTunes that I want to highlight. This is coming from Little Leo 88, and they said 5 stars. I'm so glad I found STR Success Stories. Julian always has great guests with a wealth of knowledge to share. This channel helps the beginner get started and the seasoned host tweak their listings for better reviews. This community that I've found from the podcast, YouTube, and Facebook group have proven to be so kind and helpful to so many people. It's so great to be able to bounce ideas off of others and hear some other great successes. Thank you so much, Little Leo. I really appreciate that for that really awesome, kind-hearted review. Makes me feel really good. And I want to actually announce that we are doing a giveaway. So if you're not part of the Facebook Host Nation Facebook group, we're actually doing a vacation giveaway because we all are about that vacation rental life. That's why we're listening to the show, because we want to, have vacation rentals. But we need to take more vacations. So we're actually doing vacation giveaways. If you want to know more, it's actually really easy to do. You just leave a review on iTunes, take a screenshot, and then post that in the announcement. So this is actually going to be ending today. So you have until the end of the day to leave your review, take a screenshot, and then post it in the announcement section of the Host Nation Facebook group. And we're doing giveaways. Some really cool places that you could go, like Bali, Cancun, even like places in the US like Daytona Beach and Las Vegas. So some really cool stuff. All you need to do for this giveaway, like I said, and yeah, that's really it. I'm just super glad to be able to give back to you all and to be able to do some vacation incentives and some fun ways to get more engagement and get you guys taking a break, because we are all about that vacation life, but we need to start taking more vacations, guys. Come on. So today I had the honor of speaking with Jeremy Schmitt. Jeremy is the founder of the Pasion Group, a short-term rental property management company servicing primarily in the Chicago area. Jeremy started 2.5 years ago with no prior experience, but found a partner and went in as a junior investor, working with this experienced property manager in the UK. Jeremy was able to build his first management company, Help Host, to over 50 properties in a little over a year, but Jeremy decided to sell off his share of the company to his partner to be able to start his own style of management, the Pasion Group. This is a great episode that you all don't want to miss, so if you want to see the show notes, go on over to shorttermsage.com/STR27, or if you like my show notes, then go to shorttermsage.com/show notes. With all that being said, on to this week's conversation. Hey, welcome back, Host Nation, to another episode of Short-Term Rental Success Stories. In this episode, I have the special honor of speaking with Jeremy Schmitt. Jeremy, if you please would introduce yourself, let the audience know a little bit more about who you are and what inspired you to get into short-term rentals.
Sure. Thanks, Julian, and thanks for having me on. My name is Jeremy Schmitt. I run a little company called Pasion Group based out of Chicago. We're here in Chicago. We're in West Palm Beach. We're also in Mexico City. I've been doing short-term rentals for 2.5 years. I had a short-term rental management company about 2 years ago. I sold it to my partners about a year ago. And I started the Pasion Group, really focusing on, creating a brand, creating an operating model that's focused on creating freedom for my partners. So I don't take on a ton of clients, but I take on a lot of partners and investors, just because I believe in everybody thinking like an owner. And when everybody's thinking like an owner, the results tend to be better, because short-term rentals is such a hands-on business. And, if you're not high touch and you don't actually care about, your asset and the guests who are coming in and, the whole experience, then, it just doesn't work in the long term. So yeah, I've had the Pasion Group for a little under a year now. We have 25 properties, mostly here in Chicago, as I said, to West Palm Beach, Mexico City. And we're also working on a new short-term development project in Tennessee, which we're really excited about, which maybe we can talk about later. But I started here and I studied entrepreneurship in college at Indiana University. And then I worked for a very successful broker developer here in Chicago. And it was really hard because it was 100% commission, which was, pretty terrible coming straight out of college. But I got to grow very fast. And I got to learn, the language of real estate, which was really huge in terms of being able to grow and scale my business here. So I worked under him, made a lot of relationships here in Chicago for about 5 years. And then, I had a conversation with him and he's like, hey, you seem like you're ready to, go off and fly on your own. So, I did about a couple of years ago and now we're here.
And how did you hear about short-term rentals? Because you're coming from a real estate background, very heavy. What brought you into short-term rentals? And did you make like the switch entirely, or you still have the real estate stuff going on the side?
I think it was a random dinner party where I kind of heard about this and blah blah blah. And I had a friend in college, so I have a really good friend who he's actually getting married this weekend. But we were kind of part of an entrepreneur mastermind while we were at Indiana University. And we heard our friend in Breckenridge was doing this property management company. And, he was an investment banker formerly. And we're like, what the heck are you doing in Breckenridge doing property management? So heard about the Airbnb stuff a little bit in Chicago because it was growing. But then went and just visited my friend in Breckenridge. And we just talked through the numbers, talked about kind of what it looks like. And he was managing about 70 properties at the time and just absolutely crushing it. He's the boss of Airbnb and Breckenridge, still is. And my thesis was, hey, what if we bring this was before Sonder and the big boys really came to the playground. My thesis was, hey, what if we bring, this operating system, which is typical for a ski town, to metropolitan city. So we did. We partnered up. I founded it, brought on 2 team members, found a couple cleaning teams, they became our cleaning teams, and then ended up, starting with 1, cleaning toilets and doing what I'm sure a lot of people have done, doing their own cleanings, to growing it to be about 50 units before it was my time to really leave. And sell it. I sold it to my former partners, and now that's why I'm doing my own thing. But it was kind of happenstance, and lucky, and seeing the opportunity and seeing where the holes could be filled in terms of a professional experience, but still with that high touch, intimate authenticity that a lot of Airbnb travelers seek. We wanted to bridge that gap. And that's what we continue to do, because I'm not looking to bring on 100 units here in Chicago. What Sonder's doing, I think it takes away from the authenticity and doesn't allow people to really get that high touch, local experience, especially when the people, aren't owners. Our people that we work with are always the owners. So they have, a vested interest in the property. Like I said, we're at about 25 now, and we're happy where we are. We're continuing to grow, but we grow slowly, and now we're expanding into other markets like West Palm Beach, Tennessee, Mexico City.
Jeremy, I just think that this is so cool. You're probably one of the fastest growing, property managers that we've had on the show. You've only been in the space for about 2.5 years. And just to kind of summarize what Jeremy kind of did was that he built up this property management company up to like 50 units. He had investors, partners, and then he sold it. And now he started his own, which is the Pasion Group. I'm really curious though, because maybe lots of people are getting into this space and they're maybe, they have the idea about selling their own property management or, but how does that go about? Like, how do you build up something like that and be able to pass it on to somebody else and sell it?
Sure. Yeah. It's funny, actually, when I was at my former company, I helped my partner in Breckenridge acquire another company in Denver. So we acquired another company of about 20 units. Luckily, my partner had kind of that private equity investment banking background, so we were able to do it. The really simple answer is just meeting people in the industry who are other owners, and just sharing with them your story, sharing with them who you are, building trust with people in other markets, in whatever way that can be. That can be forums like Bigger Pockets. It can be events like Eric Moller's Airbnb Mastery. I think those are the best channels because those people know the business. They're passionate about it. They have a number of units, and sometimes people are ready to move on. They have kids, or they just want to have a different career because this is so time consuming and a very busy business. Or sometimes people are looking at it through an investment lens. Like you have your Saunders, you have your Picassos, you have those guys who are looking to just bring on more units because they need to satisfy their investors. So I'd say just talk. There are a couple private equity players. But, the big thing is just building those relationships with people who are already in the industry.
Now, you had this previous property management, and this was a team effort, correct? So you actually sold your kind of share of that partnership to your other partners, correct? So you could start your own?
Correct. Yeah.
So with that, so do you think that it's a good thing, or is it better to maybe partner with people to scale, or is it better to kind of do it on your own? Because now you have the experience with both.
I'd say it depends on your background, like anything, like a person's situation, which is why I think it's beautiful that you're having this podcast and having guys from so many different lenses. And that's what we do when I consult. People usually call me on a weekly basis and say, hey, how do you think I can bring on more units? Or, if you have a real estate background, I'd say, hey, and local players, local handyman, local cleaning teams, who are the most important people on your team. You can try and shoot for the moon and start with one and see if you like it. Otherwise, me having a partner, who was in it for, 2 to 3 years before I got into it, was just invaluable because, anybody can do this at 5 or 10 units. But then once you get to 15 and 25 and 30, it's a different level of scale, and a different level of systems and a different level of just attentiveness and, where's your focus? Because you can't just manage that by yourself at that point. So having that partner and him being already through those steps was so valuable for me. So I get to learn so much from him. He plugged and played his operating system that he had here in Chicago, and we had to really adapt it to the Chicago market, just because it's different. It's like they're not so much worried about guests there, but we don't allow local guests here in Chicago because they typically throw parties and create trouble. So it's like little things like that you kind of, hey, you can grandfather what you've learned from there and kind of make it your own within your own community, whether you're in a major metropolitan city, a ski town, or a beach town. I'd say always going with a mentor or an advisor or a partner is so invaluable, and I would always recommend it, especially for the first 6 months to a year.
So how do you kind of build? Because I'm curious, when you first started, you had this partner that had this experience, so you were able to kind of work together and use him as kind of like a mentor, but also as a partner. How do you, being, let's say, for the new people that are getting into the space and want to partner with maybe someone else that already has properties, how do you split up those responsibilities if you don't have that maybe experience in the industry?
Yeah, that's a tough sell. Because people who already are doing it and have properties, it's like, okay. For me, it was bringing the units to him, and saying, hey, I know you have your business there. Like, I'm going to grow this business. And, he took a little bit of a leap of faith in me. But I mean, the hardest part is finding clients, and finding deals in this industry. And so having the relationships that I had and being able to speak the language was invaluable. For people who are kind of going into a management company, I would say, just start, offering to work for free, or just for, they always need help, even if they have their own cleaning staff, maintenance staff and whatnot, they can always use inspectors to have better quality control, so you can always offer to do that. They could always use an extra hand in messaging the guests, because the guests, most guests, are easy depending on how you automate the system. But, there's some guests who are high maintenance that can be very stressful for the owner. It's just having a conversation and being man to man and being like, hey, what are your big problem points? how can I help you take care of them? And then, from there, you got to deliver and you got to execute. And I think that's the biggest, the toughest part is, hey, we want to do this. We want to do this. But, most people don't know how much work it really is, especially starting out. At our point now, it's like we have systems where we can plug and play people in and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's this easy. And it's still, it's actually, take that back, how simple it is. We always say it's super simple, but it's not easy because, it's hospitality. You need to know how to take care of people. But yeah, that's what I would recommend, just having a woman-to-woman, man-to-man conversation, and saying, hey, how can I help? What are your biggest challenges? And it's just like, this is what I think I can bring to the table and I'd love to help you.
And so now that you've got this property management company that you've taken what you've learned from having this partner that was managing multiple units on a much larger scale, what would you say would be the biggest thing that you kind of learned from working with someone that is managing at a much larger scale operation, and how you've been able to apply that to your new management company?
It's all about systems. Airbnb is a great platform and it allows you to, automate a few things, but, on the back end, having a channel manager and then having a back end internal company system that allows you, to automate, house manual, check-in docs, guest communications. Those are so invaluable because they allow you to focus, on, the 80% that really matters, which is the guest experience. Those are the things that matters because, one, you want to give guests an amazing experience in your hometown or your city, or if you're doing it remotely, wherever you choose to make your second home. But two, you want to make it, as great as possible because you want to build up those reviews so you have a long-term moat within your property. Like continues, especially in Chicago, it's getting much more competitive. So if you're not getting consistent 5-star reviews, you're going to get lost in the chafe, and you're probably better off doing something else because these professional guys are coming in and they're no joke. You're not going to be able to if you don't have a full package, you're not going to be able to compete. Especially right now you might be okay, but in a few years, no way, Jose.
Now, could you kind of walk through the makeup of your current property management team? Like, what does that consist of now?
Yeah, so I have a city manager here in Chicago. We like to think of it, based on my past experience, a city manager can take on, up to 25 units and be very intimately in touch with those units. And we kind of changed our strategy. My former company, we kind of took on one-off clients. Now we only take on landlord partners. And by that, I mean, we only take on buildings that, or owners who have, millions of dollars worth of assets. So like they have multifamily properties that are 50 to 200 units large. So we're able to consolidate and really focus on having our little chunk of space within those buildings. It's easier for our team. It's easier for our cleaners. So city manager, and then I have a cleaning team who freaking rock, and they're the most important part. Having them on board, being able to not only clean but also to help you track inventory and stock the units. So they're a team of 5 and they rock and roll. And then, I have a secret police, just to give our clients peace of mind. I don't take on many clients at all. I turn more clients than I actually accept, but, taking on 2 clients just because they're landlords who own, a lot of real estate in Chicago. So it's like, we want to partner with them for the long term. And then, we have our contractor. So I have a really great designer here who works for the team. And then I have a photographer who's world-class. He's one of Airbnb's go-to photographers, but he's a friend of mine. And that's our team. I have a few partners on the side too, who we've invested capital alongside with each other. And I do that strategically to say, hey, if, I don't really want to go above, 30, 35 units here in Chicago. But if they do, and I have, people coming to me offering me units, I know my partners are competent. They know the system, and, I can hand this off to them and they can, take it and run with it. And then we can both benefit together. So I have just a couple partners on the side who are either capital or operating partners. and they're fantastic. They have their own LLC, so it's kind of like a joint venture. They do their own thing, but they're good friends of mine, and they rock at what they do. So I like just having those until, just in case, hey, what if somebody's out of town? We can watch each other's backs, and for the long term, depending on how big they want to go, we can help each other.
Now, you said that you have a city manager and a rock star cleaning team, but you also have properties in more out of reach areas, like you said, Mexico City, West Palm Beach. How do you apply your systems towards those more isolated units?
Yeah. So anytime we think about entering into a new market, we think about, one, the regulations, which is the most important, which are kind of transient, so that's kind of hard to gauge. But we think we do a pretty good job of it. And then two is just the boots on the ground. I've said it 3 times already, but who you have, your cleaning team, your maintenance team, people who are boots on the ground are the most important. So for Mexico City, we've been there for about 6 months. I have a partner whose family is and you need this in Mexico City, is very deep into real estate. So they owned a bunch of stuff kind of across America and Mexico. And he's got that real estate background. We said, hey, let's partner up. So, my partner's leading the charge there. He has a cleaning team relationship with the laundromat owner, and then a maintenance team. So it's like really key, that they kind of already have those kind of relationships preset. And then in West Palm Beach, it's an investor actually based out of here in Chicago, but they own stuff across the country as well. And they've already owned the building. They've just seen like, hey, we want to maximize cash flow. So they reached out to me. And then we had a conversation. So they already had a maintenance team and a cleaning team down there. So it's like I went down there, visited them, took them through the steps, talked to them about what we'd expect. And we built a good rapport together. So just having those, going there, blind eye is kind of hard. I wouldn't recommend that, but if you have relationships, especially with landlords and owners, that's how I'd best recommend it.
Now you've brought up partners quite a lot when you said you are going to like Mexico City. Are these more like business partners, or are these like strategic partnerships, like working with like landlords that have multiple properties? Just to clarify.
Well, we don't need to take on partners. Like we have enough. Sorry, there's a plane in the background. It's air and water show in Chicago. We don't really need to take on capital partners. So for us, any partner we take on is either 1, family and friends, people that I love and I trust, or 2, strategic partners who own the land and or buildings, and we know we can grow with them in the long term. So we don't really need capital. Even though it's always nice, we like to go into a new market, grow low and slow, and once we grab our foothold in there, we know we have the boots on the ground to take care of our scaled units, then we really, press the green button and go.
So now let's say you're going into a market that you don't have any friends or family that you know of, but you are trying to reach out. How do you go about creating those good partnerships with like those landlords or those complexes when you don't know the area?
Yeah. So that's actually what we're doing in Tennessee with our short-term rental development. So we're purchasing the land. We're going to be developing about 25 modular homes with one of our construction partners. And then we're going to be operating it with the goal of it being a franchise model, kind of the McDonald's of short-term rentals. So, more operating partners, maybe some people who are listening to this who want to do it in their local community, say, hey, we want to do that. Can you, help us, develop this land? And then, they can plug and play into the community. So for that, it's just being there. We're going to Tennessee. It's like, one, we're gonna meet and talk to the local cabin owners who are doing this already to say, hey, what's the landscape? What does it look like? How does it work? And then 2, we're just going to reach out to a number of cleaning people, maintenance people, and we're just going to take them through the ringer. A lot of people you don't really know until you actually see their work. So of course you got to ask them for references. It's really important. But initially I'd say, working with a cleaning company to start is a little safer, but it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but it's worth it. So work with a cleaning company in those new markets. And then, as you spend time down there and develop relationships with other owners or just cleaning companies, you'll bump into people because, doing this, I love it because we're able to pay our cleaners a really good wage, like a lot more, like double the minimum wage, and we tell them that, and especially if they do a good job, we reward them for that, above and beyond with bonuses. So you just got to be there, and start making the calls, get on forums, go through, Google, search who the top people are, and have conversations, but have conversations with people face to face because you really don't know. That's what I learned from my when I worked in real estate before this. You have to be face to face, and always have backups too, because you never know. Someone can not work out. Someone can maybe, have a baby. They can maybe have to move somewhere else. So having backups, it's the engineering principle of redundancy, always helps too.
So with those locations like let's say Mexico City, West Palm Beach, where you're not present, but you have these business partnerships that you do have, these landlords, do you, when let's say something doesn't work out and you need to find another cleaner, you need to find someone that can be dependable, are you personally going down there, or do you have your business partner kind of be the mediator?
Both. So, if my partner's already down there, he naturally knows the local landscape more, which is the most important part of our hospitality business, and I let him run with it. The same thing in West Palm Beach. We have a really good team, and it's maintenance, and they rock, and they're trustworthy, and they have, vested interest in the property and properties that they own. But if it comes down to it, yeah, you got to go down there, on less than a week's notice and just fly down there and see, fix the problem, even, clean the toilets if you need to, if they're not going to be there. And that's just, that's the not easy part of our business. Like I said, it's simple, but not easy. So, yeah.
Now, what would you say is the difference? Because when you say partner, usually I think that there's some, there's I usually think of like a financial vested interest. Are you just like renting out their units and they just are partners with you because you're able to fulfill their occupancy, or is there some type of like financial partnership that you do enter into to maybe sweeten the deal so that if in case something does happen and they need to kind of mediate, that they do kind of have more vested interest and don't just like say, oh well, this is your job, I'm just providing the housing.
Yeah, I make that clear to them, like in the beginning, before I don't need to take on it. Our stance is, we don't want to be in bed with, sorry, my French assholes, so we make that clear in the beginning. Like, I don't need your business. I don't care. We have a fine business. But if we're going to do this, we're going to be partners together. So to answer your question, we only want to partner with people who, have that vested interest. So sometimes we profit share, of course. Sometimes we take out a lease, and just collect on the upside. And sometimes we do management contracts. So we kind of have those three options. And based on my conversations with the owners, depending on how vested they want to be in the project, whether they just want to collect a check at the end of the month, be happy and fat, cool. Whether they want to be more hands-on and learn the business. I kind of, that's my role in being, a relationship mediator in between this, is saying, hey, what makes the most sense? What's going to make us, the most money, and then what's going to make us, the most important question is like, what's going to make this work most for both of us in the long term? So we just have that conversation, figure it out. But yeah, we kind of do a mix of all three models.
Now, with the with the first company that you guys started with your other business partner, you said that you were taking up more individual units, but now you've kind of you have more of like a you take on multiple units within a specific area. Is there like a minimum that you have with those types of units?
Minimum by number, you mean?
Right.
So in Chicago, they have very tight compliance, like a lot of large metropolitan cities. So they allow a maximum of 6 units per building, per address. So usually we take on, just a chunk of 6 within the building. Usually they're on the same floor or, similar floor plates on a floor above or below. One of our new owners, they own a whole complex near Wrigleyville. So they own kind of the block. So they have multiple addresses. So, we can do up to, 12 or 14 there. But typically, just because regulations allow it's 6 here in Chicago. If it was up to me, we'd be somewhere, just depending on the profit margin, we'd be somewhere in the, 15 to 20 unit range per building. That's what a lot of people here are doing. And I was actually looking at a boutique hotel here in Chicago, in the Gold Coast for a little bit. But then that was about a year ago when I was with my former company, and then I left. But I think that's, about the ideal number, because then you can be boutique-y, which is what Airbnb is looking for. You can be high touch, but everything in terms of operations on the back end can be consolidated. All your supplies can be in one place. It just makes it a lot easier for my team, which just really my goal is, to think about, hey, how can I make this, as simple and easy for them? Because it's not easy.
And if you are getting multiple units within in one building, how are you kind of keeping how are you not competing against yourself? Like, what are you doing to attract different types of customers for your units?
Yeah, we want to compete against ourselves, because competition breeds better units. So we see, we're lucky to have the data on the back end of Airbnb. So when we have units facing, within each other, which are basically identical, we can say, hey, this unit, is 85% leased. This is 70% leased. And we have this title that's different. Maybe we can switch up the title. Maybe we can switch up the cover photo. We always want to split test. So we actually want the competition, and we thrive on the competition because it allows us to learn. And then grow them together. And when they're in the same building, we can typically attract larger groups. So we have people attract us online, on the platform and off the platform, saying, hey, we need all 3 places, or we need all 6 places. What's the best deal you can give for us? So we welcome the competition, and it helps us get better, because, if we're not getting our units better, making the guest experience better on an ongoing basis, then, we know we're losing to the competition.
What would you say would be the the best thing from the other partnership that you had, the other business that you built up? What would you say would be the best thing that you kind of took away from that? And then one of the worst things that maybe they were doing that you're trying not to apply into your business?
Initial inspections. Before we take on a client, you do an initial inspection just to take on inventory, furnishing, everything. Detailing, check-ins, exits, garbage, parking, etc. Doing that to a full basis, even though it's mundane, it takes a lot of time initially. That upfront work of systemizing every step of the process before a guest even arrives, with check-in docs, house manuals, everything, is the most important part, because then it allows you to potentially delegate it in the future, because everything is taken into account. It allows you to be accountable, if something happens within, glass breaks, or, there's damage to, a furnishing item. It allows you those to be documented up front. The documentation, and then inventory tracking, and then being able to plug that into the system is invaluable. And I think that's what a lot of initial hosts miss out on, because they're like, hey, let's wing it, let's take photos and let's go do it, and then, hey, whatever happens, which is cool, and you can do it for 1 or 2 units, but if you want to do this for real, you can't. The toughest thing I learned was, not having quality players on my side, and in order to do that, you need to give them some sort of ownership stake, so whether that's, in the unit, in the company, through bonuses, through, whatever way you need to do it. All of our partners own or have a vested interest in the property, and they're A players. This business just doesn't work in the long term. Like, you can't keep superhost status. We still have superhost status after, 2 years. Like, it's, we're very proud of that, and who knows, it can go away. You get a number of units, and Airbnb is kind of tough on that, but knock on wood. But not having partners, which I have now and I'm very thankful for, is your law. It's simple, it's a people business, and it's all about the people. So taking the time to find the right people, and making it clear, hey, these are our expectations. It's 5-star hospitality or it's bust. You can leave. We don't accept anything less. That was really the difficult part, and why, I left, because, you got to have A players on your team. And now that we do, I'm so grateful. And, I'm super excited to grow and, and continue to create and invent and create our brand and help other people, create financial freedom for themselves.
What has been the most challenging part of scaling your short-term rental business?
I think it's for everybody. It's finding deals. Lucky for me, like I have a lot of relationships, and I actually tell people no more than yes, just because we're very, very selective about our goal is to be the most profitable Airbnb company in Chicago. So we're super, super, super selective, just because the supply continues to increase, which means our profits are going to continue to shrink. But we want to focus on that profit margin. It's really just being patient to be able to find the deals, and having the boots on the ground aligned with you. So, you're giving a consistent 5-star experience. It's simple, but it's not easy, and especially on a consistent basis where, you want to go out on a Friday night. I had this happen 2 months ago. I was out with my friends, my really, really good friends, and we were going to a concert in Chicago. And then I get a call at 12:30 saying, hey, we're locked out of the apartment. The building system just stopped. And luckily we had, an emergency lockbox fob so they can get in and be taken care of. But, I had to step outside for 30 minutes, to just walk them through and make sure they are okay. And, it's just like being able to do that on a consistent basis, because a lot of people who do Airbnb love to travel too. So, a lot of the times you're not even on site, and luckily we have a city manager, so we kind of bounce back and forth. So we always have somebody here. But yeah, the relationships and then being consistent is always a challenge.
Now, you've mentioned also, because you're very strategic with who you take on as being a client and business partner. What for the people that are maybe just starting and they're just trying to get any deal that they can have, any type of relationship that they can have, do you maybe not recommend people just kind of taking whatever it is? And what's your criteria for a really good partnership? What is your selection process?
I mean, going back to your question about people starting, I'd say for the first one, heck yeah, get in the door, do whatever you can. That's what I did 2 years ago. I don't even know how it happened, but I was cleaning the toilets, getting to know the business on a very intimate basis is key. And after you know that business, then you can go to owners who have multiple properties, or management companies who just do long-term rents, and maybe you can add value by providing that Airbnb play as a different, value add. Once you have that language and the know-how down, and people know that and you're actually doing it, it's one thing to, I read all these articles and it's nice, but you have to actually be in the trenches. After you have that, then you can be more selective. So I'd say at the beginning, get what you can, maybe, and start your own, do a shared room, do whatever you can just to kind of get a feel for the platform, understand it. Touch base with people like you or other experts. Hey, what do you do in the back end systems? Like, how do you fine tune them to really get them so they're automated and the RevPAR is maximized. But then after that, it's for us, we look for owners that own a minimum of $50 million in assets, and, have larger buildings across, either this city or cities across the country, because we're not looking to go small anymore. We know our system, can plug and play. We can do 100 units. We know the system's great. But for us, it's that. And then, like I said, I don't want to work with assholes. So I look for good people. and people who care. And sometimes, older guys who, want to help the younger generation, like these old white guys or women, whoever, they have no idea what Airbnb is, but they love mentoring people, so it's like they love hearing about it. And when somebody has their stuff together and they're young and, they're willing to learn and listen to the owner, and then give their value through their knowledge of Airbnb, like those people love that, so you can approach owners, and move forward that way. So yeah, that's what I would say, start with whatever you can get, but then as you build knowledge and know-how, start to get picky, be selective. That's what the rich do. They say no to more things than they say yes. It seems, to work pretty well for them.
Now, with managing this many guests, is there anything that you do that helps your guests leave positive reviews?
We always ask for one. That's a good start. We make sure everything's as simple as possible. You want to go down, if you've never traveled with Airbnb, you have to, because then you can see it from the guest perspective, what the 5-star ratings are. There's a check-in rating, which is key. You want to make your check-in as simple as possible. There's a cleanliness, there's a value. The value one's kind of tough, because you want to maximize revenue, and people have their own idea. Hey, it's not a hotel, that one's tough. But all these, the amenities, the whole experience, you want to think about those from the guest's perspective, from an empathetic space, and then provide on those, and hit upon those in, your house manual or your description, and everything within your listing. Just say, hey, we're here to give you a 5-star experience. If it's not, let us know, because we want to improve it with your help, and, next time you come back, have a 10% discount, just because you're a returning customer and you're helping us. But yeah, just thinking about it from the guest perspective rather than your own, rather than thinking, hey, how can I make this as easy as possible, which is an important question, but it's not the first question. The first question is just like, how can I make this a 5-star experience for the guest, from the guest perspective?
And is there anything that you do that you would maybe say that is kind of like your unique selling proposition with your units? Is there like something special that you do for your guests or for the people that you manage? What is that?
That's our brand. So if you see our listings in Chicago, you'll see it's all of them end with and then a red heart emoji. It's with love, because that's what we do. It's Pasion Group. It's what we do. Everything is with love. It's heartfelt. It's authentic. And we really live to, our brand is our baby, and as we build it and continue to build it, we want to give guests that full local authentic experience, because, I'm from Chicago. I love this city, and I'm so grateful to be able to share it with so many people, but also give them that professional hospitality. It's like, hey, here are the amenities. Here's your coffee. Here's your tea. If you need cleanings in between, if you need, anything else, like, we're here to take care of you. If you need a private chef, look, we can help you, connect you with our private chef. Like, whatever the amenities are, for us, we don't try to get too fancy and say, hey, this is our thing. This is our thing. For us, it's just always providing guests with, because we don't do that because every guest experience is different and everybody has different expectations, whether they're coming from France or China or, somewhere in America. We want to make it especially special for them. So we ask them initially, what that might be, and then, tune the experience according to what they want.
Now, is there anything that you do for like marketing? This is a new question that I'm going to start asking hosts on the show, but are you trying to get off of the platforms? Are you trying to do more direct bookings? What is your guys' brand marketing strategy?
Mm-hmm. We originally created like an off platform, off Airbnb site where we could accept bookings, and it was fine. For us, it's like Airbnb has more hotel rooms than anybody in the world, more than Marriott, more than Hilton, more than Hyatt. So people go there, and you want to respect their trust and security system, because it helps a lot, in terms of having high quality guests. That's what we pride when we talk to landlords, for your guests, you want to pride yourself on having very high quality guests, so it's like this isn't a hotel. and they know that it's clear through your house rules and through, just the lines that, you set. We do have our properties on Airbnb on our website. We've experimented with everything. We have a Yelp page, we have a Google page, been on Facebook, we've done the ads, experimented with Google ads. For us, it's, those are great. But given we're not at a ton, we're only at 25. When we were at 50, that wasn't even that many either. You can start, but that's why we're creating the brand with the Pasion Group, and to really attract operators and partners, high quality across the country and the world. But then two, the guests, so they can contact directly. And then we give guests who stay with us, little messages that, hey, next time you want to reach out directly, we're happy to give you a 10% discount. But yeah, that's kind of the extent of how we do our marketing. This is marketing for us. We also have a YouTube channel and Instagram page that, my city manager and brother is rushing right now and is, doing really well. So, we're getting our brand out there, sharing, what we care about, and how we can best provide for the guests. But then mostly keeping it consolidated through the Airbnb platform right now.
And what would you do differently if you had to start from scratch?
Oh, wow. I don't think anything. I would continue just to build relationships. I'm very lucky. It was kind of a smooth transition from the former company to this company. I didn't have a non-compete. I did have a non-solicit, so that made it a little tough because I built all the relationships in that company. Like I couldn't even talk to my friends, like who are landlords. It was so sad, kind of. But they can have them. I don't care. But just continuing to build those relationships, be attentive to the true value that you're adding. Maybe I wouldn't have started my own firm in the wintertime because that's kind of, Chicago has the highest range of hotel prices. Fun fact, but from winter to summer. So nobody comes here in wintertime, but everybody comes here during summertime. So, I almost went bankrupt in February because, we were bringing on new units, furnishing them and investing in them. But, we were only making back, either our rent or we were a little under it just because we didn't build up that review momentum. And our locations will be good now for wintertime just because of the people that we focus on and where they are. But that's maybe the one thing I would change.
And is there that's a really good question because that's maybe not something that so many people think about. Are you doing anything to be able to offset that low season?
Yeah. So our business focuses on business traveler. The majority of our units are near a convention center here in Chicago called McCormick Place. So we focus strictly on there because come wintertime, there's still conventions. There's always conventions. And then the auto show in February. There's a couple other shows in that time. So of course we're gonna have to lower prices because that's what the hotels do. But we're still gonna be able to keep occupancy high anywhere from 60 to 90%. And we focus on that. And then we're exploring just because there's a big nurse community here in Chicago doing the travel nurse thing. So we might open that up. Our properties aren't exactly close to Northwestern, but we're kind of close to Rush Hospital. So we're exploring those a little bit. And, it's fine. $99, you can put your stuff on traveling nurses. They kind of market the crap out, but it's okay. But those are kind of the things that we focus on in the low season to combat seasonality.
And where do you see short-term rentals going in the future?
I see two kind of ways. You see all the venture capital being raised by the Saunders, by the Lyrics. They're basically going to be taking on boutique hotels or master leasing large buildings, giving people kind of more of that professional hospitality, hotel but not hotel, hometel or partel, whatever the heck you want to call it, experience. And that's going to be a big chunk of the market just because Airbnb is invested in Lyric. And if they're invested in it, it's their best interest to see this grow. And if Tishman Speyer and if all these huge landlords are invested in, the Saunders, those are the guys who own all the big real estate in Chicago. But on the other side, and this is where we focus, is, those mom and pop and those people who really care, want to give that charming, authentic experience, and that's where I think there will always be a business here, giving a 5-star high quality hospitality experience, kind of like those guys are doing, but making it more authentic, making the homes really feel like home, and creating your own kind of little boutique hotel community. That's where people, I think, are really going to thrive. The people who have, thing is now it's like, if you don't have professional photos, good luck to you. You're like, no way, Jose. You have to have you have to have dynamic pricing. You have to have all those are just, typical now. Those are default. If you don't have those, you're losing. But you can use those to really amplify your local charming experience, and I see, actually, the professional guys are kind of going to grow in these large cities, the New York, the Chicagos, the Dallases, Miami, wherever regulations kind of allow. But these mom and pops, they'll be growing and continuing to grow in these, just even random towns. It doesn't even need to be, ski or beach towns. It's everywhere across the world, which is really fun. And, I think the people who give those cool, funky, authentic experiences are always going to win. And, I'm grateful to call some of them my friends and to be able to learn from them continually still.
And do you have any questions that maybe you have for another host that is maybe scaling or doing something different from you, or maybe at a larger operation, or if you had any type of question, what would that be for the next host?
Yeah, I mean, my question right now is, at what point are you bringing in-house software development and tools versus, the stuff in the market? For us, we think if we ever wanted to sell, having kind of an in-house tool would be a value add for a potential acquirer. So it's like, how are they, thinking about their development piece in that case? Is the stage that we're at right now, and what we're thinking about, and then how they're approaching other markets. We know we have how we're approaching other markets, and we're really excited about our development project in Tennessee. But it's always just fun to learn. Is it relationships? Is it simply numbers? Is it you found a new guy who's going to be a partner there? Those are always fun questions to ask, and to learn from each other.
And lastly, if you could give one piece of advice to someone who's planning on starting their own maybe property management company, what would that be?
It's simple but not easy. So I would say, think about systems. I kind of said it earlier, but it's just like everything from tracking inventory to your cleaning team to guest experience to the check-in to the checkout to the during the stay to the review ask and then rinse, wash, repeat. All those things can be 80% automated. So that allows you to focus on the 20% that really matters, which is your clients and your guests and your homes, taking care of the guests, giving them 5-star experiences, then protecting and maintaining your homes so you have a long-term investment, is how I would think about it.
Great. And is there any way that anybody can reach you, Jeremy, if they have any other questions or wanted to work with you or anything?
The company name's Pasion Group. So it's actually spelled Pasion. It was originally Pasion, but I figured that was too fancy for a random Midwest kid in Chicago. So it's Pasion Group. You can find us at thepasiongroup.com. It's the Pasion Group on Instagram, also on YouTube. My local firm here is called Help Real Estate. I have a brokerage firm and the management firm here. My email is jer@help.re if anybody has questions. Again, jer@help, and then real estate, so it's re.com. But yeah, happy to help or just have conversations. Always curious about other markets and to, share what we've learned, because it's, it's a fun ride and it's still changing and growing. So I love this business and plan to be in it in the long term.
the Pasion Group. And of course, I'll include everything in the description of the show notes. But thank you so much, Jeremy. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you. I wish you the best of luck, and we will just continue to stay communicated in the Host Nation Facebook group. And just really excited to see where you're going. And until next time, Host Nation, keep on hosting. Hope you hosts benefited from the show. If you found value, please go on over to iTunes, leave us a review, and let us know what you enjoy about the show. If you'd like to talk to hosts that have been featured in these episodes as well as the community, go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation. Talk to you hosts in the next episode. Keep on hosting.